All product managers have goals. Product goals are the key components of product roadmaps and product strategy. They describe the planned direction for a product, its target destination, and the milestones along the way. But how do you measure your product's performance? How do you measure the success of your product strategy? In a word, metrics. So, what exactly are metrics? Metrics are quantitative measurements that provide insight into your progress toward achieving a business goal. Sometimes known as Key Performance Indicators, or KPIs, they inform product managers about the performance of their product. They provide real-world data, as well as a framework for analyzing that data. Metrics facilitate discovery and inform product strategy decisions. They can change the direction of your product strategy and, by extension, the entire organization. It's a common truism that if you don't measure something, you can't improve it. Without data-driven metrics, strategy becomes a guessing game and business decisions become speculative. But by tying business goals to the proper business metrics, product managers can make informed decisions. As a tool for facilitating business goals, metrics must be used to set measurable objectives for the product. They are the foundation of the business case that product managers communicate to the organization. They are the targets that development and sales teams aim for, and they present hard facts about a product's health. With the proper metrics, product managers can establish what's working and what's underperforming. And by analyzing the data, they can find creative solutions to then improve their product's performance in the market. But today's business world is awash in a sea of data. If your metrics are based on data, what is the right data to measure? The options seem endless. Collect too much data and you'll soon be drowning in irrelevant information. Collect too little and you could miss something crucial. Since metrics measure a product's success, they serve an essential communication function for product managers. Product managers, after all, need to communicate regularly with departments and executives throughout the organization. Metrics provide a common set of measurements that can be communicated to key stakeholders in the product strategy. They are a tangible link between product vision, product strategy, and product performance. By basing metrics on factors including product usage patterns and customer satisfaction, product managers can translate the performance of a product into something that key stakeholders can easily comprehend.
What is customer acquisition? Customer acquisition can be defined as the process of converting prospects to customers. Essentially, it consists of selling products and services to new customers. As a result, it often involves offering products and services to a large number of prospects. Since customer acquisition focuses on data generated by prospective customers, the data is usually limited. As a result, many companies resort to buying additional data from data vendors in order to secure some detail on the demographics and lifestyle of their prospects. Customer acquisition models are used to acquire new customers and increase market share. Let's assume that the diagram here represents a subset of a population. You'll notice that prospects are those marked in red. This also shows potential customers that are found within distinct segments of the population. Therefore, the objective of the acquisition model is to find those segments that have a high concentration of potential customers. To deploy an acquisition model, we use the segments with a potentially high concentration of customers as targets for acquisition marketing campaigns. Sometimes these types of models are also called segmentation because they segment the population to segments of high concentration of prospect targets and others with low potential.
It is said that no matter what your company makes or does today, you're also in the data business. Because in the digital age, the amount of data associated with the creation, distribution, and sale of any product, from raw material information, and the success of your products, your customer experience, and your entire business.
Political environment. Organizational decisions are strongly affected by developments in the political environment. Political factors determine the extent to which the government may influence the economy or a certain industry. They are the role the government plays in the economy, covering political systems and policies. The addition or removal of political regulation constraints can pose major strategic threats or advantages for an organization. Some examples of political factors are taxation and taxation policies, government stability, government expenditure levels, and foreign trade regulations. Political factors affect organizations in a number of ways. They provide a legal framework for organizations to work within. The government can take a particular stance on an issue which is of direct relevance to a business or industry. Government conduct economic policy, which is of particular relevance to business. Impacts of political factors, for example, are the likes of taxation and taxation policies. Organizations need to know what tax or other incentives are being developed that might affect the market or organization. Governments may provide incentives for certain industries in the form of subsidies or tax breaks. Taxation also affects consumer spending powers. Higher taxes means consumers have less to spend and vice versa. Government stability and the risk of political instability. Monitoring, understanding, and adapting to political situations are critical for every organization. Political instability can be disastrous for an organization. Therefore, organizations need to understand how a change in government could affect them. For example, governments may privatize or nationalize industries. Organizations need to consider whether their industry and therefore their organization could be affected. Government expenditure levels. The government may be a major supplier, investor, or customer of an organization. For example, defense contracts, meaning any changes in government spending priorities can have a significant impact on business. Foreign trade regulations. Governments can discourage or attract foreign trade through the use of trade quotas or tariffs. Trade barriers can be used to protect domestic industry. Governments can subsidize exports or promote them through the likes of trade missions and so forth. International trade is governed by an extra layer of legislation from international treaties and agreements, and therefore it is subject to a higher level of political risk. Government is responsible for providing a stable framework for economic activity, and government policy affects the whole economy. The goals of political policies are to achieve economic growth. This is the increase in the amount of goods and services produced per head of the population over a period of time. To control inflation and achieve stable pricing. To achieve full employment, meaning unemployment is low, temporary, or short-term, not that there is zero unemployment. To achieve a balance of payments, which is the balance between an economy's exports and imports. The problems government face with regards to these goals is that often reaching one goal has a knock-on effect on another goal. For example, full employment will lead to consumers having more money supply, which in turn can lead to inflation. There are a number of ways in which organizations can influence government policies. Lobbyists can be employed to put forward an organization or industry's case to individual ministers or civil servants. The influencing of public opinion will influence government policies. This can be done through the likes of advertisement. Organizations may offer MPs non-executive directorships, with the hope that the MP will then become involved in legislation that affects them.
Hello and welcome to today's lesson where we're looking at PEST analysis or PESTLE analysis, which is a tool that can help you understand the macro environment in which an organization functions. Now, suppose a company is considering two options. Should it develop a new product or should it expand into a new country? How would a company decide which opportunity is the right one to pursue? Where would you even start in answering this kind of big strategic question? Well, a PEST analysis can be a useful tool in answering these big strategic questions. Now, PEST is an acronym standing for Political, Economic, Social and Technological, and sometimes you'll see it referred to as PESTLE analysis, which is essentially the same analysis, but where you add legal and environmental factors. Now, PEST provides a view of the different macroeconomic issues that might affect an organization. And the idea is that by understanding what's changing in the world around you, you'll be better able to make good strategic decisions. Now, this is sometimes known as environmental scanning, and it is an input to setting strategy. Before we look at PEST analysis in detail, let's take a quick step back and look at the big picture to give you some context. You can think of a company's environment consisting of three levels. Now, these three levels are the internal environment, the micro environment, and the macro environment. Now, the internal environment consists of factors that are internal to the organization. So things like employees, assets, technology systems, etc. The next level is the micro environment. Now, these are factors outside the company, but they're still very closely related to the company. So these are things like suppliers, buyers, competitors, and subcontractors. And the final level is the macro environment. And these are factors that can influence the organization, but the organization itself has no control over these factors. So these are things like political factors, economic factors, social and technological factors. Now, these are the factors that a PEST analysis will